So I've literally just rushed to my mum and dad's house to do this in time. So I have no idea what's going on.
That's
That's not my dress. That's not mine.
I was about to say that shape would look fabulous on your figure.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely bring out the eyes.
Oh God, I know I should have worn it actually. I'm going to begin, guys. I mean, the film felt like a real throwback. I mean, it was like the sort of romantic comedy that you don't really see enough of these days. I mean, when you were reading the script for the first time, I'll start with you, Brenda. Do you remember thinking, God, this is taking me back? Did it feel like something you would have watched years ago?
100%. That was one of the biggest things that drew me, was the fact that it was such a throwback to the rom-coms that I grew up watching and that I miss so much. And especially in this kind of day and age where everything is, we have a lot of craziness happening in the world and a lot of content that's actually very, very dark, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love, but it was just so much fun to be able to, especially during we shot this during the pandemic, to be able to do something so fun and so light and something that to me, I just wanted to put I read it and it put a big smile on my face, and I was hoping to, translate that to an audience. It was one of the biggest things that drew me, was the fact that it was an old school rom-com, because I miss it. I miss it so much.
Yeah.
You're a big fan of the rom-coms, Aaron?
No, I love rom-coms. Yeah, and kind of hitting on what Brenda said, I feel like there's not enough of them out now, even though we have so much streaming content. Like it was, when I saw the script come through, I thought, wow, what a great, not only great script, but what a fun movie to put out there. But yeah, this one was such a fun one to be a part of. The script was great. The cast was, the cast is all right. I'm joking. The cast was incredible. And this was, I love rom-coms. So to be a part of it was fantastic for me.
Yeah, and also I think it was the thing that I liked personally, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the fact that it was a twist on a rom-com with kind of this tech twist. I mean, especially in today's world where we're all kind of living behind computer screens.
Everybody's
literally.
texting.
Everyone's texting. I thought it was just a fun way to tell a classic rom-com story that was very 2022, I feel like. But yeah, and that I felt was very relatable, because I think we've all accidentally texted someone that we weren't supposed to text, and lucky for us in this audience that these two characters were, at a certain point willing to open up to this person that they didn't know who it was. Because me personally, I'm at a place where I just listen to too many true crime podcasts to ever continue to talk to someone I didn't know.
It's so funny. I was saying about the kind of the fact it feels like I said, it was a throwback, and yet at the same time, it still could only have been made now, which is quite a unique kind of thing about it.
Yeah.
But do you think that you mentioned about saying text to people? Have either of you ever sent a text meant for one person that went somewhere else that it shouldn't have?
Oh, I never. Me personally, 100%. And sometimes it's my lesson is always not even just oh, make sure you're texting the right person. It's just be honest. I was the things that I always say, whatever I'm texting to whoever, that's my rule now, I would be willing to say to whoever I'm if I'm texting about my friend, I should be able to say that to my friend. So if I accidentally texted them that, they wouldn't be shocked. That's sort of my rule. But yes, I've 100%, especially in the early days of the iPhone, early days of texting, definitely texted the wrong people or texted the wrong thing to the wrong people.
Yeah, I do. I'm notorious for it. I do it all the time. I've got, the Apple Watch, and I've got big wrists. So whenever my hand from doing something, it automatically does Surrey. And then I'll send a bunch of random letters to a bunch of random people. And I don't even know how that happens. But then I was on a group text and gave away my mom's birthday gift on accident, because I didn't realize she was on the group text with all my sisters. So that, it's a weekly occurrence for me. So it was completely relatable.
I once my phone was in my pocket. I was in Canada, and it just sent the word Beethoven to about 5 random people in a group that it created in my phone. So now I just get called Beethoven by everyone now.
Honestly, sometimes we have one of those Google Home things, listening to my conversation, all of a sudden we'll start I don't know about this, I'll look it up. And I was I did not ask you anything. Do not look up, send anything.
I was wondering, because I spoke to one of my friends the other day, and they got a new partner, and I said, oh, how did you meet? And they met in a bar, and I was like, what? Because that doesn't happen these days.
Yeah.
Right. I was wondering, because this film kind of explores the kind of modern way that dating has kind of changed, and obviously the rise of dating apps and modern technology advances and social media. Do you think dating has changed for the better as a result of the rise in technology?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I was going to say, I never did any of the dating apps. I have a lot of friends though that have been super successful, that have very busy professional careers. And I got to say, I don't know how they would meet anybody outside of work, because their jobs require so much time of them. I think that's just kind of shows that the day and age that we are, where there are kind of like the work-life balance is kind of, it's a little askew, I would say. But I do think that technology in that sense has helped in a way, just connect people, that wouldn't have been able to meet otherwise. But I've got friends that are married and have kids and families that I don't know if they would have met, without having some sort of, connection on a dating app.
No.
Yeah, for me, I think like with Aaron, I think there are definitely pros and cons to it. Number one, it opens up, people like, people that you would never meet on the street, you would never meet, you now have, the opportunity to. On that same flip side, I think, it's also difficult because it's like something like that we talk about in this movie is like, when you're behind a phone or behind a computer, you can sort of be anybody you want to be, and that can be a very dangerous thing if the person behind it doesn't have good intentions. Luckily, like in this movie, these two characters are able to like let their guard down and be vulnerable to someone that they have no idea who's on the other side. And I think there's actually something weirdly powerful about that. Like when someone doesn't know you, being able to like let your guard down and letting them really see you, because you feel like they almost can't judge you because they don't know you. You're never going to run into them in your real life. And so I think that's very advantageous, but then also at the same time, I think it's also harder, like Aaron said, to just meet people in today's world, and especially in this post-COVID world or COVID world, it's even harder to meet people. So it's like, I think, to be able to have that like accessibility is wonderful, and that's the great thing about technology is we could be talking from the US and the UK like this now, and that is, that's something that's actually pretty darn cool.
Yeah. I do really like it. The only downside is I never get to go on any work trips now. I used to get to like New York to do interviews, and now it's like, well, you can just do it on Zoom. I'm like, oh.
For me, it's like I get to wear sweatpants like down here, and just like no one has to see me from like here on up.
Yeah, business on the top, party on the bottom. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah. When I first put that pair of jeans on after about 2 years of just wearing sweatpants, they didn't fit.
It's still, I still have issues now, but I'm like, I don't feel comfortable in restricting clothing anymore.
And Brenda, I was going to ask you, I mean, this is something we take for granted these days as we're striving for a kind of more sort of inclusive and diverse industry, but it still is significant to have an Asian American lead in a romantic comedy, because I guess growing up, was that something you might not necessarily have seen a lot of? And is it still important to you that things like this are happening, and we shouldn't forget necessarily that it is still quite a good sign of progress, I suppose?
For me personally, like, I think that's one of the things that when this opportunity came about, I mean, Peter and Jeff and Brian are the producers and the director of this film. I actually worked with them on Secret Obsession, which is a very, very different film from this. And when this opportunity came about, I mean, obviously I was very, very honored, because for me growing up, that was one of the biggest things. I didn't grow up with seeing a lot of Asian Americans on TV, period, unless it was, the only Asians I saw on TV were like Jackie Chan or Jet Li. And I was like, I'm not a 40-year-old male who does Kung Fu. But I've been very, very fortunate to have always worked with people who are very, very open to just storytelling. And I do think it's so important, and where we're progressing now is just what is being reflected in media is what like is being reflected in real life. Like, this is what the world looks like. Everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has a love story to tell. And the fact that they've given me the opportunity to tell this one is, incredibly wonderful. And I feel very honored to be able to do that. Cause, even though we're progressing, it's still, there's still so many challenges, and even though it's more readily available, it's still really hard. And but we're definitely trending in the right direction. And I just feel very grateful to be able to have the opportunities to do things like this and to tell these sorts of stories, and let, other Asian American girls out there know that, we can tell stories too. And, and for me, just in general, I feel like I'm living proof that no matter where you are, who you are, what you look like, where you come from, if you have a goal in mind, I've always wanted to do this since I was like 3 years old. This is what I've wanted to do. If you put your mind to it and you really just work hard, like literally anything can happen. Like I am living sitting proof of that. So yeah, that's for me, like whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's an astronaut or an actor or a teacher, it's like, we live in a day and age where we have opportunity, and that's what's really wonderful. And no, I just feel very grateful to be able to be sitting in this position, having been able to do films like this and tell stories like this.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. On that lovely note, thank you so much for your time today, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Stefan.
Yeah, of course.
It was lovely to meet you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey, you